What up, everybody, and welcome to Baz on Blades. My name is Baz, and I talk about blades, and today we are talking about a hell of a blade. What we've got today on the tabletop here at Baz on Blades is the Prometheus Worx SPD version of the STS-B folder. The STS folder is a design from a company called Terrain 365. And they are, I don't know. I'm not going to give you a lot of background information on these companies because I don't know jack crap about them. There's not a lot of information out there. Terrain 365 was started by Michael Vagnino and I cannot remember his first name. His last name is Ma, M-A. It's a small company, a design company, production company, doing high-end knives. They're doing them in some exotic blade materials. Although this knife is in a stainless steel, they are using a lot of dendritic cobalt type alloys that they have given their own internal name. I think Terraventium or something like that in the Terrain 365 knives. Now, Prometheus Worx comes in, and these two companies are hooked up in some way. I don't know if they're co-owned or they've just got sort of a working relationship. But what Prometheus Worx does is they've got their SPD, their special products, designs, or something like that. And they do special versions of these knives in limited drops. So they've taken the Terrain 365 STS design and they've done it in this special bolster build with carbon fiber and M390, given it the SPD moniker, and then marked it with the Prometheus Worx SPD Kraken there, or Kraken, however you pronounce it, I'm not sure. So what I can say about this knife going in is this is a badass knife. Good Lord, guys. We're going to knock the numbers out really quick, the packaging, all of that, because this knife is so finely made, it deserves to have the majority of the time of this spent looking at it and talking about just how finely made it is. Now, this knife you cannot buy. I know I've done quite a few videos here lately on things that you can't buy, and that's sort of funny to me, but there's people that are going to want to see this because it'll be available on the secondary market, and there's other versions of this knife, and it's such an intriguing and wonderful design, and that's the reason I'm doing the video on a knife you can no longer buy. So what did this knife cost? It was $385. Wow, that's like 16,000 different Civivi knives right there. I mean, that's $385. Let's look at it realistically. That's not a lot in the cutlery world, but it is getting up there into the sort of premium realm. And the thing is, I cannot tell you where this knife is manufactured. I can, go into how finely it's manufactured, and I can tell you what the Terrain 365 website says in their facts section, because I don't really understand what it says. In one paragraph, it says that their edge cutting tools are 100% made in America, or they're made overseas with a trusted partner out of the very finest materials, but they do not tell you where this knife is made. We got to get that out of the way, but I'm thinking right now it is probably Chinese produced. I do not know by who. I have suspicions, very high-end suspicions as far as Chinese production goes, but I can't say because I don't know. So let's get this out of here. We'll get the packaging in here. the Prometheus Design Works packaging. It's a very premium feeling brown cardboard box all over printed. I mean, it's all right. It's got an arrow on the end. Come on. And this arrow points in the opposite direction. Get the hell out of here. That's for the flap. The knife is going to come in an embroidered zipper pouch. I love these zipper pouches. It is a two-pocket, opposed two-pocket. There will be a branded microfiber cleaning cloth in it, and then the bag or the knife itself will be in a plastic bag. Very simple. But you know, we love these pouches that none of us ever use. I bet I've got 100 of these from different manufacturers. I don't use one of them. So let's get the specs out of the way. This is a full-size knife, although I feel like it's slightly more compact than I would have liked it. Blade lengthwise, you're looking at 3.5 inches. That's about 9 centimeters. The blade width is about 1 inch or 26 millimeters. Blade stock thickness, 148 thousandths of an inch or 3.7 millimeters. Handle length, just a little bit over 4.5 inches or 11.5 centimeters. The handle width at the guards at the pivot end is 1.28 inches or 32 millimeters. Handle thickness, spot on that half inch at 507 thousandths or 12.8 millimeters. Overall length, about 8 inches and a tenth, just shy of a tenth. And that's about 20.5 centimeters. Your stop pin diameter, 135 thousandths of an inch or 3.4 millimeters. Behind the edge thickness on this very well done blade is about 18 thousandths of an inch or 0.47 millimeters. Handle to blade ratio, very good at 77%. And your weight, 4.02 ounces or 114 grams. All right, let's get the materials out of the way. It's pretty basic, guys. It's a folding knife. You've got M390 in your blade steel. We all know that is a very premium, high carbon stainless steel. It is probably the industry standard as far as production premium knives go. You're going to see that steel, the M390, the 204P, the 20CV, which are different versions from different companies of the same steel. It is a powder metallurgy steel, very fine grain structure, excellent edge retention on M390 with pretty decent impact resistance or toughness, and it has good corrosion resistance as well. M390 is one of my favorite blade steels and all of its other various iterations as well. In the handle, you are looking at a titanium bolster build. It is a titanium frame lock bolster build, meaning that you have a titanium frame lock, and then where the carbon fiber handle scales go, this is milled out thinner to accept that, to have a flush fit, and you do get those carbon fiber handle scales. Let's take a look at that. Nice ball mill machining on those. Your small parts are stainless steel. The smallest screws are T6. You are T8 on the pivot. You do have a milled titanium backspacer, a tucked in pin type of mount for a lanyard. You have a milled titanium pocket clip, which is internally affixed. So you have to flip the knife over, take this scale off, and then you can go through and undo that. We will talk more about that pocket clip. Beyond those materials, you have ceramic for your bearings on the pivot and for the detent. You do have a stainless tiered set of thumb studs, and they do have glow-in-the-dark inserts in those, and they do glow in the dark, guys. I've actually played with those, and maybe we'll pull out a UV. Let's pull out the UV light here, and you guys can go ahead and see that. Oh my goodness, sorry about this. I'm not prepared at all to be awesome today. My allergies, oh my goodness, guys. Later on in the video, I'm going to cry about my allergies, so be sure to stay tuned for that. And there you go. And we're under studio lighting here, guys. I'm not going to jump up and turn the lighting out just to see this, but you can see just very quickly with just a little bit of a UV charge there, they do very much glow in the dark. And, you know, they hold their glow for as long as glow-in-the-dark stuff holds its glow. Not very long at all, but it is cool. It's neato. It's a nice little detail to add to the aesthetic appeal of an already extremely appealing knife. So material-wise, we are premium from one end to the other. Everything, let's go into fit and finish very quickly. Everything is perfectly finished to the highest nth degree. The carbon fiber in the handle is extremely smooth and cleanly machined in every way. The finish that is on the titanium, look at the sheen on that media blast finish. Whatever media they used, it left a very fine sheen to that. The small hardware, let's take a look at the domed, the show side of the pivot here. It is very finely machined to the point that once you handle this knife and you get a little oil off of your hands on this pivot here, it gets a sort of reflective look to it and starts reflecting from the machining and the oils. It starts refracting light, and you get the colors on that is so attractive. It's subtle, but it's very, very attractive. And I'm afraid it's not going to show up here because my studio lighting is a little bit on the cold side. It doesn't have a lot of sort of warmth to it that you get those colors from. But what I'm trying to say is everything is so perfectly finished. You got a bead blast on the blade that is actually just a little coarser than I would have expected. Usually, as you ratchet up the price range and the finishing levels and the materials on these knives, typically you get away from coarser sort of bead blast looks. That's a very subdued surface finish, and this is coarse enough that I would not have chosen that finish on a non-stainless steel. Like, I would not do this coarse of a media blast or bead blast on D2. And D2 is semi-stainless, but I still wouldn't do it. You would get spotting with this and may encounter spotting, rust spotting, even on this M390 if you're in an area that's got a lot of salt in the air, salt in the water, i.e. you're on the east or west coast of the United States or on the coast of anywhere around the world where there's going to be salt water. So keep that in mind. That is a trade-off. It doesn't make a bead blast finished good or bad. It's just a characteristic of that finish. Once you choose to go to that finish for whatever aesthetic reason, you've got to take that sort of that balancing act into account. But all of the finishing, let's take a look at that thumb stud again. All of the machined surfaces on that thumb stud. Let's drop straight into the spine of the blade, which is crowned. And this knife for jimping features very fine coin edge jimping. Now, gentlemen should be familiar with coin edge jimping. It is used in jewelry, a lot in upper end watches. It is a very traditional sort of texturing in that arena, and to me it invokes a feeling of quality, of old school quality. Is it any different than any other jimping just as far as jimping goes? You know what? It's different. You know, it feels different. It's got... It actually, you know, when you first touch on it, if you just don't put any pressure, it's fairly smooth. But if you grip on it at all. It's actually fairly aggressive. Now, it's not as aggressive as the fine jumping on like a Spyderco Paramilitary 2, but it's also much more refined looking and feeling. It's a very interesting choice on what I would consider to be a sort of a tactical knife based on a Loveless chute knife sort of profile. And we're going to get into that aspect right now. The design of this knife is absolutely wonderful. You've got great materials, fantastic fit and finish, and you have got this design based on the Bob Loveless classic chute knife design, which you would typically see in a fixed blade. I've seen various iterations of folders that are based on that sort of design, and they all fall short of capturing the essence of the chute knife design, at least in my opinion. But this one, for whatever reason, the shaping in this double guard area, which is very much Loveless chute knife, very much, okay? This is like a tribute to that design, and it is so very well done. They've modernized this area by going with these flat planes and cuts and sort of pointy peaks, but they've stuck with that now traditional look of this knife design, and everything is balanced on this knife, especially well balanced for a folder, which typically folders lose efficiency in their blade to handle ratio because of the way they're made. But at 77%, this is actually pretty decent. That's getting up to 80% right there, guys. That's pretty efficient. And they've done it in this design that not only pays tribute to that classic Bob Loveless design chute knife, but it also modernizes it just enough to be interesting. You've got some nice faceting on the front end. You can see, let's close this thing down. At the forward end of the bolster here, this is a very flat cut, but you've got this radius center mount sort of center position chamfer here that really makes this interesting at this end, at the bolster end of this knife. You've got your scalloping here for access to the thumb stud. That scalloping is on both sides as it has dual thumb studs. That doesn't help a lot for left-hand users because the pocket clip is not reversible. But I mean, you know, sometimes you got to make sacrifices. Just because you were born with screwed up genetics doesn't mean that you can't carry this knife. It's just harder on you people because, let's just face it, you're very special people, left-handed people. So we went over to fit and finish. We sort of were getting into the design of this knife. You're seeing there is a sort of homogeneous appeal to this knife to Bazon blades. The quality of the build on this knife is something to behold. And this, I run into sort of a problem with this knife. I can't figure out where this knife is made. Now, I have not handled every knife from every manufacturer in the world, but I've handled a lot of knives. And I've handled quite a few higher end knives. I've owned quite a few higher end production knives and custom folders. And the fit and finish on this, the quality of this knife in the hand is as good as I have seen on anything that is comparable. At $385, I would put this knife as damn near perfect. And really the only changes that I would make are subjective. They are not objective changes in the design. They're just subjective changes that I would have just personally done different if I was making the knife. Like, I probably would not have gone with quite this coarse of a bead blast finish on the blade. I would have gone with a little smoother surface finish to get the sheen level approximate to what you have here on the titanium. It's a finer media blast finish, but that's a design decision that these guys are sitting down and making. And some of the decisions that they made in this knife of building it, that's what we're going to talk about for the remainder of this video. This is an extremely well-made knife. And let's talk about the pocket clip. It looks like a milled titanium pocket clip. It does fit down in a milled recess. In this carbon fiber scale insert here. It is affixed through from the back side, so you have hidden hardware for that. A very smooth finish. I think that it has a very smooth finish overall with minimal hardware, and the hardware it does have classically placed for this type of bolster build in a folding knife. And I think that design language for me really dates back to early Ernest Emerson custom stuff when he was doing the bolster builds of all the CQC models. It's just a very simple, classic, industrial sort of purpose-built tool look in this type of build. The pocket clip is very interesting. The way it mounts, it uses a single screw. And let's imagine you can look right down into the milled pocket for this pocket clip. There is a screw hole, and right beside that is a location pin. And a combination of that location pin and this recessed pocket being so tightly, accurately machined, I disassembled this knife just to look at the inside. And it was not difficult to put the pocket clip on, but it took some technique. You've basically, to get this pocket clip back down in this pocket, this little milled recess, and on the pin, you've basically got to press fit that in there by hand. You've got to finagle it around till you get the angle just right, guys, and press fit it in there, and it goes in with a snap. It is a very tightly fit, and some of the best machining tolerances I have seen in a production knife. Now, I'm assuming these knives are very limited production, okay? And there is more hands-on time spent assembling these knives. That's what it feels like to me. I can actually feel that. I can feel the difference between a $200 knife that's very well made and has great materials and this nearly $400 knife that every little aspect seems to have a little more attention to it. That fit is incredibly precise. I cannot say enough about that. All of this sort of coin edge jimping, guys, is so finely done. I hope that I'm getting this so good on the camera, because so good is, it's so good, I think. I didn't mean to say so good, but I hope, oh my God, I'm a retard. I hope, no offense to retarded people, because, oh my God. Anyway, I'm going to get flagged for that. Please don't go down in the comment section and hate on me for using that word, because I do not mean any disrespect at all. I'm so dumb. So, everything in this coin edge jimping, in the crowning of the spine of the blade, in the fit of the handle scales to the bolsters on these frames, the fit around this pivot the show side cap of this pivot assembly to the bolster. Everything about this knife is finely done, accurately, tightly machined, and I can't get over how well this knife is made. Everything is super tight and super well finished. I just can't get over how it feels in the hand. It feels, guys, I have owned, not a lot of custom knives, but I've owned 6 or 8 custom folders. And I've spent a lot of money on them before. And this knife is as well made as any custom folder of a similar build that you're going to get. They may all have different features, different finishes, and all of that. But as far as the fit and the overall finish quality of this knife, I know I'm going on and on and on, and I get away from the quality and I come right back to it, and I get away from it, I come right back to it. But as I'm looking at this knife, I'm feeling it in my hand here in front of the camera. This knife is incredible in every aspect. Let's talk about the action a little bit. Like I say, I've owned some expensive knives, guys. I've owned a lot of bearing pivot knives. I've held a lot of very expensive knives that have bearing systems on the pivot. This is regular round bearings, or not thrust bearings or anything, but this knife is as fully drop-free, hydraulic smooth as you could expect to get in anything. And I want to tell you, this knife came out of the box clean, lubricated, with perfect lockup and absolutely perfect centering. This knife is exquisitely manufactured. I want to know who makes it. I don't care if it's Chinese made. Did Riote make this? I don't know. I don't know if they made it or some other OEM did, or even if this is one of the American models that Terrain produces for Prometheus Design Works. I don't know about any of that. Nobody knows. I've Googled this. I've searched through the forums and information and fact sections and talked to people. I even talked to Jeffrey Orthopedic about this. And what he doesn't know about knives isn't worth knowing for the most part. Even he's like, man, nobody knows. Nobody knows exactly. And really, I'm not seeing a lot of negative feedback on that against Prometheus Design Works or Terrain 365. And the reason is the knife is just exquisitely well made. I don't think that really at this point, even at $385, I honestly, I can't argue with wherever this knife is made. It is exquisitely well made. The action is butter. It is butter. It came out of the box that way. I disassembled it for, oh my God, I missed that. For just shits and giggles. I just wanted to see the inside. It went right back together instantly. Perfectly centered. I didn't have to fuss around with it. I didn't have to do anything. The only thing that I will note, you may be able to hear this. Can you hear that, guys? The detent ball is a little hissy, but that is the ceramic detent ball riding on this finish that's on the blade. That bead blast finish. So it's going to be a little hissy until it wears through that finish. But you can see right now with that pivot tightened down. Now I've got it tightened down, guys, and there is zero play, and it feels so solid, guys. It feels really good for this type of build. Yeah, it feels really good. It feels really, really good in the hand, every aspect of it. And I can't like I say, other than just totally subjective choices that I would have made if I was actually making this, I can't see anything about this that is just not awesomely well done, guys. This is it's $385 worth of knife is exactly what it is. I guess the highest praise that I could give this knife is, regardless of where it's made, America, China, Japan, Germany, I don't care if this thing is made on the moon, it's made on Mars, it's worth the money. I mean, I can say that. It is worth the money. Now, standard versions of this are all titanium. They have the same ball mill pattern in them. So they'll have a cross-milled section with this ball mill, and it gives it sort of a bolstered look in an all titanium. They've got an all G10 show side with the same mill, and they'll all be titanium frame locks. Then Prometheus Design Works has offered a few of the PDW versions, or the SPD versions, the special products design, or special, I don't know what it stands for, but it's short runs. You know, taking these models and doing special versions and doing drops on them and short runs. And that's what they did with this. But there are other versions of this knife that are available through Prometheus Design Works with their markings on them, or through Terrain 365. And like I say, I don't know exactly what the relationship is between those two businesses, but you know what? Who cares? If they brought me a product that was this well made, yeah, I feel very lucky to have gotten in on the second drop of this knife, no longer available. And I think even at $385, it's a pretty decent deal. If you can get a hold of one of these on the secondary market, and whoever you're buying it from is not trying to rape you on it, go ahead and get it. This thing is super duper smooth. I mean, super duper smooth. A beautiful design, sort of a tribute design to the Bob Loveless classic chute knife. Very good materials, and again, so extremely well made, with fantastic action, fantastic fit and finish, fantastic design. And there's the end to our fantastically long review of the Prometheus Design Works SPD version of the STS-B from Terrain 365 Design. Get one if you can, if you want it. If you don't get one. I appreciate you watching one of my extremely long videos. God bless all of you, and we will talk to you again.